seek out and encourage people who are developing real solutions and alternatives.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network, 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.
Welcome, everyone. This is Marie Wade. I am your host today at our Zoom talk. And today I have an amazing guest. His name is Joel Cross, who is a musician, a poet, and a medical practitioner. So, Joel, welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's so good to be here.
Yes, I think you have such a variety of background here, and I'm so interested in what you have to share with us, because I first met you on your live event in TikTok, and that was actually my first one. And I am so blessed to be able to run to your live and got to hear your music, and it's just so beautiful and so peaceful. And it just really gravitated my attention, and I just wanted to like learn more about you. So so Joel, it's amazing to really get to connected to you. So I wanted to just learn more about you, and if you can just take us from the beginning of your journey on how it all started with you, and in whatever information you can share with us that you're comfortable with, I would be very appreciative of that.
Okay. Well, I think I grew up in Texas with a large family. I'm one of 8 kids.
8 kids. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but my dad was a preacher and my mother a teacher. So we always grew up having spiritual discussions as well as musical discussions, because my dad was also a songwriter. He wrote a lot of gospel music.
Wow.
And me and the family, we always played together. The brothers played the instruments and the sisters sang mostly. So growing up with that, I realized probably at the age of 12 that music and spirituality was always going to be a really, really important part of my life. And that's where it started.
Okay.
And then from there, I went on to study music in college. I studied jazz at the University of North Texas.
Wow, I love jazz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I am. That is like my first love in music is jazz, actually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Got a jazz lover in the house.
Yes, I am. I'm gonna have to really ask it to play jazz for me from now. No, I'm just curious. So go ahead, continue.
So I learned jazz guitar in college. Finished school and actually had a hand injury. And so I was kind of at this crossroads of like music was my main thing and performing jazz like George Benson style. I don't know if you know George Benson.
I've heard about the name, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. He was a really popular guitarist in like the 70s, 80s.
Okay.
And but so then once I injured my hand, I had to basically kind of stop playing for a while. And that made me get really introspective to myself and my identity and what I wanted to create in the world. And so that's when I started reconnecting to songwriting more than performing. And I would write songs about everything from blues to jazz to some of the harder issues I was going through. And there was a certain point where I was trying to play something very simple that I had learned probably, as a teenager. And here I am in my mid-20s, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. My hand was so, I had tendonitis, so it was
Okay.
so swollen and in such pain that I couldn't play. And I remembered kind of being down, almost near in tears, because it
Yeah,
was frustrating and difficult.
I
And then
can.
I stopped myself. Um, and I remember, I don't even know where the gumption came from, but I just remember saying, you know, I'm not going to get down about this. No matter if I have to play with a pinky or my elbows, I'm going to play music for the rest of my life. And after searching for 6 months for a specialist or someone who could help me, the very next day, I found someone who started getting me back on the road to good health. So that taught me two things. Um, One, you're never out. You can only choose to stop. And two, um, the power that our creative mind, the spiritual self, has to create the life you want. So from there, I just kind of began exploring a lot of new avenues of ways of thinking and being in the world. Um,
Wow, that is beautiful. I mean, it is very, gosh, your journey for having that kind of difficulty in life and still be able to overcome and still be passionate about what you love. It's just very inspiring to a lot of people. And I still see it from all your live events. I mean, you are incredibly passionate about the music.
mm,
Yes. Now, one thing I learned from your information is that you became very famous from a request from Taylor Swift. Can you tell us the story about that?
yeah, so I did a cover. I lived in Dallas and I had a gig at a botanical garden. I used to play there all the time in the summer, and I had been doing um, some transcendental meditation. I just the last part of like my phases of getting out of that injury was these meditations from this book called Effortless Mastery. And in Effortless Mastery, it talks about um, as a human, walking, talking, and breathing happens effortlessly. So as a creative individual, you want to channel the effortlessness in creating your art. And through those meditations, there's one that talks about kind of just relaxing into a state of flow and allowing the music to be created through you, but not by you, and being an observer. And so I've been doing those meditations for about 3 months at that point. And then I never entered that state though in a performance. So this particular day, I'm at this gig in the botanical gardens in the Dallas Arboretum, and some person is like, "Hey, play Taylor Swift," and I'm like, "Okay, like why not?" And I just kind of on the spot kind of start playing "Shake It Off" in my own way. And I mean, from my lives, I always
Yes.
kind of make my own arrangements of the songs. And somewhere in the middle of that song, and I think it's probably between the meditations and the fact that it was just something I don't really play, it put me in a state where I actually felt the same thing I felt in meditation while I was performing that song.
Okay.
And it was really powerful, beautiful. And I was like, okay, that's cool. The next morning, I woke up to a message from some friends, and he's like, "Hey, man, you're famous. Look at this." And I barely looked at it, and I had woken up late, and I was like, this is like photoshopped. He's just messing with me. This isn't a real news article or something. And I had the same gig the next day. So I literally woke up, saw that. I was like, I don't even have time to mess with this guy right now. I'm just going to go down to the gig. And I went down to play the gig, played the first set. And then I'm looking at my phone, and my phone is actually like, there's a lot of notifications and there's a lot of people saying the same thing. And I was like, wait, is this legit? And I mean, sure enough, it was. There was probably like 500,000 views on that video in a day.
Okay.
And I was kind of like blown away by that.
So,
And
so what happened after all that happened?
mhm. um, there was just a lot of hype for a while. And I mean, I got I had several interviews and things like that. But that wasn't really anything that really like catapulted my career or anything, to be honest. There was some exposure for sure,
Uh-huh.
but I think the person who would have had the most influence would have been Taylor. But I think I wasn't the most complimentary in my introduction of the song to Taylor. So I don't think she liked that.
Oh, I see. Well, still, it is still a great exposure because it is the history of your life that
Yeah,
came about. And
right.
the fact that you are a meditation practitioner, which is what I think I said, medical practitioner. I apologize about that. So, as a doing the meditation, is that something that you have really used to help other people?
Yes. So yeah, I guess the most important takeaway from that story for me was the power of meditation and
Okay.
being in a meditative state, and how that can transform not only your way of viewing the world, but it can transform the space around you and the people around you who get to be a part of that as maybe you're in that space. So for me, mostly for a long time, meditation has been my own private thing that I
Mhm.
do, on my own. Maybe put on a guided meditation. And now, starting at the beginning of this year, I've started kind of leading some smaller ones, and I'm getting into it. And I'm taking a course later this year to really kind of own that in a new way and get a certification. I've done it a few times in my lives and with a circle of friends, but I'm realizing now that in my own way, there is a meditative space that is being created in some of my lives when I'm playing my music and we're having conversation and we're uniting with a specific intention, maybe for gratitude or compassion or joy or love or just honoring our truth. And that's been really, really powerful. I get messages almost daily from so many beautiful souls who are being impacted in the best way, from telling me it's been soothing, it's been calming, it's helped them with their anxiety, to other souls telling me that they feel it in their energy centers, in their chakras. And even some of the conversations have been about forgiveness and other things. And someone contacted me saying they had been through a horrible sexual abuse as a young child, and now they're in their late 60s, and there was something that shifted for them that allowed them to have more forgiveness for that person in their life. So those type of messages are what I live for. As you know, my intention is always grounding, healing, and transformation
Yes.
in whatever I do, whatever medium I'm connected with. And so when I get messages like that, it lifts me up and it makes me so happy um, to know that you literally can have an impact when you connect with people and you co-create a space of compassion, of love, and of healing.
Well, I am so happy for you to be in that position because I can totally relate. For the short period of time I got to experience your live events when you were playing guitar and you were talking and you were singing. I mean, what I felt personally was very beautiful that I was able to be at peace in myself.
Mhm.
And I mean, you are so made to be in this role to do this things because the combination of your voice, your love for music, and your compassion for other people, it's just a beautiful combination. And what I have experienced just being in there for a short period of time, and I am very very blessed, Joel, to be able to to join your live. I mean, again, I can totally attest to that experience because it is remarkable, and I hope that people can if they're struggling at all, in whatever angle of their lives is, this is actually beautiful for them to just be a part of, and be able to get that feeling of peace. And it's just beautiful. I mean, I remember you singing this song. You have several songs that I've listened, and sometimes I have trouble remembering the titles. But there was this one that really sticking to my mind. Is the love and Was it Tribulation? Is that what the title of?
Love and Liberation.
Liberation. Yes, you go. Is that is such a beautiful song for me.
Hmm.
Is there a way that you can sing to us just for that small song, and so people understand what I'm talking about? Would it?
Yeah, I actually have my guitar right here. You want me to play a little bit of it?
Yes, yes. If you could go get it, thank you so much.
Sure. I didn't know, so I always try to have it ready.
Oh my God, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that you're ready for it. I didn't even ask you earlier, but now I'm just thinking about it. I just like want people to really see and experience it, just for even for a short period of time.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Hmm. Love and liberation, healing for a nation. Love and liberation, that's who we are. That's who we are. Love and liberation, healing for a nation. Love and liberation, that's who we are. That's who we are.
Oh, thank you. That is so beautiful. I mean, if people get to they spend hours listening to you. I mean, I see it. It's like every time you're out there, it's just a lot of people just watching you, and it's so fulfilling. I'm sure for you to be able to experience that.
It's really beautiful because I don't, I mean, I know it can seem like it's a, obviously it's my live and I'm on camera, but I literally feel the energy of all the people in there, and I can see their comments and what they have to say is so beautiful. And I don't know if they realize that I'm getting the same thing from them. If
Yeah.
they are connecting to the music and it is impacting their life in a positive way, I'm getting the same thing from connecting to them and hearing their stories and hearing their comments and receiving their beautiful love. So I actually got off live last night and I was talking to the gentleman here at this farm, and he saw, like, I was like, man, I feel so great, I feel uplifted, I feel like my energy's lighter and brighter, and it's because of all of these people, and we co-created this beautiful moment together. And it's just an honor to be able to share that and connect and know that it goes both ways equally. It's
Oh,
just a real gift, and I'm very
well, I'm
thankful.
glad to hear that because I've been sending you a lot of love for your music.
Oh, I feel it, I feel it, thank you so much.
Yes. Now, the last live you had was that your mother that was with you when
Where
in
um,
one of your lives, and I even asked a question, and she was actually giving some of her input too in terms of
oh, you're talking about my friend, I
was
call
it
her Mama A.
okay? That's why I was thinking. I wasn't sure if that was your mother because it was
Oh,
I was seeing mama, and I was late in the event.
I
So
call her my second mother. She's a my birth mother. My actual mom is in Texas, and she's been on there briefly, but we haven't had those type of conversations.
okay.
But Mama A is a good friend, second mother, spiritual mentor, a mother of a good one of my college friends, and I just connect and love their whole family.
Oh, I
Uh,
see. Well,
yeah.
she was amazing too. I mean, you bring incredible people in your life that,
Mm.
is such, you guys you have a great group of people that you're surrounded with, which is what you're saying, is you have to surround people accordingly based on your meditation.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm seeing so far from attending some of your live events. I tell you, it is it's hard to express the feelings that I get from it. And I think people really need to go in there and find you. Now, how can they find you? Do you only do it on TikTok? Is that where you only do it?
Yeah. Right now, I keep it simple. It's TikTok only for those lives, and it's my handle is a soul called Joel.
Okay. All right. And we'll have that on the caption so people can really find you. Is there anything that you would like to share to people before we sign up?
Hmm.
And take your time to whatever you wanted to say, please.
I think um, I think the only thing I'd like to say is that um, our life is what we make it, and I hope that we cultivate a life of beauty, wonder, compassion, love, and joy. And I'm sending love and light to anyone who is listening.
Oh, thank you so much, Joel. It's such an honor to have you here today. I know you are very busy and very well in demand by so many people, and I am so thankful for TikTok to be able to give me access to your live events. Again, this is Marie Wade. To all of you out there, please do check out Joel Cross in TikTok. It is such a pleasure to meet him and get some experience on how he does his live events. It is very, very beautiful. And again, this is our show. It's available on YouTube. This video is going to be in there too. And Joel, is there any other ways that they can get a hold of you aside from TikTok, or is that the only way they can send you a message?
They want to find me. I'm also on Instagram, but the central place would be joelcross.com.
All right, there you go.
Everything.
Yes, take a look at that, and it's going to be incredible. All right.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
The toughest part in the lending process is patience. Like I tell all my clients, once you get those keys in hand, it'll all be worth it.
Everything that they said they were going to do, they did. I saved so much money working with First Lending Solutions. I love my new house. I couldn't be happier.
So reach out to me at First Lending Solutions so I can help you get started.
You can contact Defina Miller with First Lending Solutions at 951-973-0123, definamillermortgage.com.
I love how New School is able to help me greatly with my career
because they actually have experience working in the field. The greatest thing about New School is the fact that there are so many different disciplines, which allows you to really understand and get a good insight into different types of design. And I think it's that whole changing mindset of what design can really do for a city, and this is kind of the place to be.
This environment cultivates creative thinking.
Real Men of Real Estate with Steve Matley, construction manager and real estate developer, business owner, and educator.
Did you know that right now there's 22,000 units deficit?
Tunde Ogunwale, real estate development professional, Naval Academy grad, and veteran with a deep understanding of the public sector process.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Brian Fox, real estate expert and investor, dedicated to helping hundreds of clients make money in real estate every year.
There's so much housing going in.
The builders are begging for more land.
Future company can come in, lease up space to employ those people who are living in the homes.
We have to put the housing in place.
They either have to have houses.
They want to make sure that there's a strong employment.
Logistics centers, things like information hubs. We are a shipping economy now. There's economies all over the country where their prices are doubling and tripling.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, and I am your host, Marie Antoinette Wade. Today, we're going to talk about something fun, and I have an amazing guest. His name is James Watson. James, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, Marie.
Yes, I'm excited about this interview because, I want people to know what you have done in your business, and I know that you do a lot of fun things as part of what you do for your clients. So let's talk about your background first, because this is about fabulous lifestyle, and I want to make sure that we understand why this is important for them to know as part of bringing up their lifestyle into a success. So James, tell me your background. How did it all start for you when it comes to the sales business?
Yeah, so when I got out of college, I really wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do. I, thought I was going to go into my father's law practice and take that over, and then I kind of went in a different direction. And then I, ended up meeting someone through a social situation that was like a financial planner, and then he introduced me to a sales manager, of a major company, kind of in the capital sales business, and that ended up being my first job. And then I spent like, a decade in that industry, which is like the copier digital imaging systems software industry. And then, ended up moving on into, some startups and worked for a couple different startups. And so got experience with that. And then ended up after the dot-com crash, going to getting recruited over into a commercial real estate data company, the largest in the world. And I had the software sales experience and the sales experience, but I had to learn a whole new industry. Flash forward, I spent 18 years there, held a lot of different roles, and I learned a lot from being in management and being a direct contributor, being a specialist, and then between that and working for the startups, it really gave me a good idea of what I wanted to do. And ultimately, after COVID hit and I was in a W-2 job and got furloughed, I decided I was going to try to take that everything I had learned to on a bigger scale to try to help more companies out doing what I had done and what I was passionate about, which was building up teams and helping individuals to achieve their goals. And so what sales consulting allowed me to do, and I'm a fractional VP of sales, and that's what I focus on, working with small, mid-sized businesses. What that enabled me to do is to really take everything I've learned and apply it in an area where it's really needed, because the small businesses typically don't even know what kind of resources could be available to them, and they can't afford yet to hire on like a VP of sales. And so what I'll do is come in on and help them with their infrastructure, help them build things up, even run the sales for up to a year, and then the goal, and then help them to potentially hire a VP of sales or a director of sales, and then kind of pass the torch over to them.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question. So being in sales, would you say that you need to have, specific qualities in order to be successful in sales?
That's a good question, because there's two sides of it. There's the skill side and there's the will side. I kind of break it up into those two camps. And there's a lot of people that are just natural salespeople, and they're socially very, gregarious, whatever, and get along with people and can make relationships quickly. Those people can do very well in sales, but if they don't have the discipline, the will to do all the work that needs to be done, then they won't do well. Then you got the other side of it, which is someone that will work really hard and maybe has limited skills, but if they follow a process, they can be successful, and oftentimes more successful than the person with all the skill. Now, the ideal, kind of perfect candidate is someone that has both.
Okay. Well, so because I know I myself love people, and I always talk to people about doing things, or giving them something that can help their business. And in your case, because you are not only talking about increasing their sales, you're really doing some other things in the process where you're giving them strategies. So so when you're saying that when people have natural skills for being in sales, and then there should be some discipline, and then you're talking about having the will, how does that work with you? I mean, what is for you, what is that?
Well, that's for me, that first of all, you've got to assess what someone has in place, whether I was running my own company or whether I'm consulting for someone. I have to look what they have in place. In some instances, they don't have much in place, and they just got to build up from the ground and from infrastructure. And then I'm helping them define their value prop, their processes, and then making their initial hires. Then you got others that are already a little bit further along, but they don't really have a foundation with a repeatable and predictable process, which is what is needed, especially if it's a growing company. So a big part of it is if they already are in place, then you have to assess them. And it doesn't mean that person necessarily shouldn't be with the company. It just may mean they may not be in the right role. You've got to figure out if and it takes some time to figure out if they have the skill and the will, and assessing that. If and that can oftentimes be tougher if they're already there, because they've been hired maybe by a smaller company, and it could be family related, a little more dicey. Whereas if you're going ground up, then I can control that much more, because then I'm helping to vet the candidates, and I have processes for flushing things out during interviews that have made me pretty good at identifying who's going to be able to succeed or not.
Wow. Okay. So there is a process for someone, if they're interested in being in sales, they need to be evaluated by you in regards to, what skills they have in order to see if they fit certain role in the sales industry.
Yeah, it's true. And the thing is, I was, by nature, I was almost sales averse when I came out, and then I all of a sudden ended up in sales. Initially, I hated it, and it wasn't.
Hated it.
I hated it, but then I take on challenges, and then I grew to really like it after I built up my skill set. So I would say I didn't have I was personable and I was an athlete and all that stuff, but I was also a little bit more on the shy side, and I didn't necessarily want to sell. Especially after I decided not to go to law school, and so it wasn't as glamorous as it is now. And so I took it upon myself, though, to make sure to learn things I needed to learn. I think I had the innate skills to do it, but I wasn't just a natural right out of the gate. And there are naturals right out of the gate. And so I think it's something that it may not be right for everyone, but if someone has an inkling to do it, then they can check it out. And the sooner they do it, the better, to kind of test the waters and then to follow up. But they need to be in the right environment, the right culture. They need to have the right processes and an onboarding process, the sales playbook, all those things, because I've seen the difference between someone making it or not making it oftentimes is the sales leader or a lack of a sales leader.
Now, is it really fun for someone who doesn't have the natural skills to go through the training process and really learn how to be successful here? Is it going to be hard for them to go through the process?
The harder it is for them to go through the process, the more they should decide not to be in sales.
Oh, I see. Okay. So can you share a story of some of the success that you've done in your journey?
Yeah, so I've had different experiences, because I've been in multiple different industries, and I've been with startups, and then I've been with more established companies. And I learned a lot by being, with a larger company. I mean, relatively large. It was like 100 million. Now they're doing like 2 billion in ARR. But I learned a lot about formal processes and had a lot of resources when I was at that company, and then maybe at another company. And then the other side of it is the pure bootstrap startup, where I've had experiences where they literally just had a seed round of funding, and then my job was to bring in, all the beta customers, to do the sales and marketing business plan, and do all the competitive research and hit milestones. And so that gave me an experience, even though that's when the bottom fell out on the .com at that time, and we never got a second round of funding. That gave me an experience along with some other startups that gave me a different perspective than what I got just from corporate America. Both are valuable, but they're very different. And how you hire and manage people and what you do at different stages, it really matters. Because a pure startup versus a startup that's got a couple rounds of funding versus an established middle market company, they're doing things differently.
Wow. So we're talking about experience from the ground up to, a very large company, and you're able to really see what works for each industry or for whatever, market it is.
Yeah, so it could be by market, it could be by industry, but or it could be by segment, kind of like how big is the company, what stage are they at that moment. And again, to answer your question a little more directly, in terms of success story, I worked with a company that actually was a few years in. They already had like $60 million of funding, had 9 sales reps, and I was brought in, even though there was a VP of sales there. I was brought in to kind of help tighten things up because they didn't think they were. In fact, I know why, because the investors were not getting quite the return that they wanted yet. Mm-hmm. And so they said, okay, we need more structure here. So then, coming into that, I was able to come in, do assessment for a while. And in fact, there was I was a W-2 position. There was an outside sales consultant that I worked with there. He ended up being my inspiration later on and helped me to get my first sales consulting gigs too. But I worked with him and learned so much from him about that. It's not just about the myopic view of sales. You've got to work with other divisions. And then he came in and really helped with that, but he appreciated my focus on the sales side of it. And so then he brought me into other consulting gigs where he thought, and a couple of them where he thought I could add value. And so, we worked together for about 6 months. And this was just pre-COVID. And then we both were done once COVID hit. Wow. And his gig ended and I just, got ended. He kept me on for a little while longer, but during that time, we hired 9 new people. We built a full sales playbook. That company now, has, it's gone from like 60 million in funding to 180 million funding and a $2.5 million, market cap. And so I would say that is one of the bigger success stories.
Wow. So it really makes a difference when you have a very good people in the company that you can get mentorship or even just get inspired. I think that is a crucial thing for anybody to be successful in the business.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And in fact, that's a big part of what I started doing even when I was in corporate America. And I was a hiring manager and I was bringing people in. I realized that
let me do this, James, because we're getting close to commercial break, but don't go away. We're going to take a commercial break right now. And for you out there, I have more questions for James, and you're going to learn more from him. So don't go away. We'll take a commercial break.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections. Hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
The toughest part in the lending process is patience. Like I tell all my clients, once you get those keys in hand, it'll all be worth it.
Everything that they said they were going to do, they did. I saved so much money working with First Lending Solutions. I love my new house. I couldn't be happier.
So reach out to me at First Lending Solutions so I can help you get started.
You can contact Defina Miller with First Lending Solutions at 951-973-0123, definamillermortgage.com.
I love how New School is able to help me greatly with my career
because they actually have experience working in the field. The greatest thing about New School is the fact that there are so many different disciplines, which allows you to really understand and get a good insight into different types of design. And I think it's that whole changing mindset of what design can really do for a city, and this is kind of the place to be.
This environment cultivates creative thinking.
Real Men of Real Estate with Steve Matley, construction manager and real estate developer, business owner and educator.
Did you know that right now there's 22,000 units deficit?
Tunde Ogunwale, real estate development professional, Naval Academy grad, and veteran with a deep understanding of the public sector process.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Brian Fox, real estate expert and investor, dedicated to helping hundreds of clients make money in real estate every year.
There's so much housing going in.
The builders are begging for more land.
Future company can come in, lease up space to employ those people who are living in the homes.
We have to put the housing in place.
That either have to have houses.
They want to make sure that there's a strong employment.
Logistics centers, things like information hubs. We are a shipping economy now. There's economies all over the country where their prices are doubling and tripling.
Okay, we are back here at the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. This is Marie Wade and our guest, James Watson. We were just talking about how we can make it successful in the sales industry and also having a lot of fun, right, James?
Yeah, thanks. Definitely. I started my own company a year ago, and it's not all fun, but you do have to carve out time and have some rewards for your achievements.
Okay, so we were talking about mentorship earlier and being in a good company. Can you expand that for us? Because I think when people are going into the sales industry, what they think is, okay, if they have the natural skills, they can talk to people, they're good to go. But there's other things that are included as part of being successful. So if you can just expand the mentorship for us, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, and there are other things beyond mentorship. Like, when you're first going in, it's like, okay, who are the people that are there? What's the culture of the company? That's huge these days, especially now, with people not necessarily working on site and being able to work across markets and having more opportunities. So culture is very important. But then I think knowing what the path is going to be within the company, and in order to create a viable career path and not have a lot of turnover, you really have to lay it out, and it should be defined. And part of that revolves around mentorship. And so if, let's say you've got a few reps and one of them is really good, and then you hire someone in, then, the best thing to do, as long as one understands what that senior rep's goals are, if they just are saying, I aspire to be in management and, be a leader. Well, one of the best ways to take them to that level, and where you can, be hiring from within and avoiding turnover, is to make them a mentor. And then on the other end of it, if you have a good certification and onboarding process and a sales playbook that you take people through, and you don't just throw them to the wolves, and then you match them up with a mentor. What I would do is make them do their first like 3 deals with 3 or 5 deals with a mentor, and then the mentor is getting compensated for it, but it takes the mentor to a different level. And it's actually, without them even realizing it, oftentimes they're starting to do management. And then that is also kind of a proof of concept for themselves and for the company. Will they be a good manager? And do they enjoy it?
Now let's talk about the culture, because, I'm trying to picture if this is a sales company, I have a feeling that there's a lot of, rah, rah, rah there, but I'm not really sure. But from the way you're describing it, they have to go through a formal process in getting trained. But how does that work? Do you guys gather in meetings, and do you guys do a lot of motivational speaking to get people inspired? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a really good, that's an ongoing thing. And some of it is, more frequent than other things. But, for example, whether I'm doing consulting or whether I'm working in a, corporate W-2 position, I'm going to conduct, typically Monday meetings, Monday morning meetings or whatever, that you go through the pipeline. You do best practice sharing. What challenges are people having? And that's done with the team, and the team could be a team of 1 or it could be a team of 20, okay. But it's done with the team. But then I also break it out individually and then do one-on-ones, because then we're talking about, what those individuals are doing and what their next steps are. So that's something that's kind of on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
Then, it's best practice to have, maybe to have cross division, meetings, if you've got multiple divisions, because a lot of times left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. And there's a lot of misconceptions, and the company as a whole doesn't run as well if you've got all these different groups that don't necessarily work together, and they really need to. And then you can have, quarterly, more company-based meetings where everyone gets together up through the executives. And again, that might happen a little more with larger companies. And then, having like a town hall type meeting. And then on the really, really grand scale, then there's like the reward and recognition, where you have things that are called like President's Clubs or Century Clubs, where the top performers, typically the top 10% of performers across typically in sales, will go on a really nice trip.
Wow, that is awesome. And that really helps people to go after their goals because of all the incentives that they can get from it.
Absolutely. And I myself went, saw places in the world and across the country because of that. And it was very motivating, because when you're coming like into the last quarter and you got a shot at that. And then the companies that were really smart, they would have a second tier where if you couldn't make the President's Club, maybe you could make like at least your quota. And then getting, there's just different ways to motivate and incentivize, people. And even if rather than giving up because they can't make it, they know that there's another level of achievement and recognition that they can get. And I think reward and recognition are very important. And that actually ties in with kind of like, what you're talking, like with they talk about the Great Resignation and all of these things going on. So much of it is about culture. It's not just about money. People want to be in a place where they feel that they're valued and working with what they like.
So what is the time frame of really getting through the training and making sure that they are ready to go out there? What's the typical time frame?
Yeah, so that can vary, and it depends on the level of rep you're hiring. So, for example, if I'm hiring an entry level junior business development rep, they're going ground up, and I'm going to have like a 2-week intensive certification process, and then onboarding, and then tie them together to a mentor.
Okay.
Flip side of that, I'm with a more mature SaaS company, software company, and they're hiring in a rep with a high base. It's an enterprise rep that's been in business for 15 years. The training, they still need to go through the fundamental like weeks and learn the company and all the processes and the back end and products, whatever it is, and feel comfortable with that. But they're more plug and play. So that individual might take a month just to start firing, whereas the other might be somewhat productive, but they still got to work with a mentor, and it might take them up to 6 months. So for my newer reps, I used to have a 6-month plan that I had gotten it down to a science, where I knew if I had hired the right people, they had the skill and the will. You can't be 100% on it, but it was pretty successful. That if they did follow that plan for 6 months, they then essentially would be earning their autonomy, and I called it earned autonomy, to run their own business. But they had to kind of give themselves in to the process for those 6 months.
Wow. Well, I feel like James said, coming from a corporate world and being very successful in bringing so much money for the previous companies that you work with, and then now you're having your own business and helping other people become very successful salespeople. I mean, is this the legacy that you're looking at for yourself, that you're going to keep passing on and helping people become very good at sales?
Absolutely. And what I enjoy about me now, there's a few things. Number one, even though it's tough, I now have clients and I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of, okay, I can make this business happen and be an entrepreneur. Even though I worked in sales my whole life and I've been a 1099, it's different ballgame when you're starting your own company. Number two, I like working with small, mid-sized businesses, because they're much like an individual, that they don't know what they don't know yet, and they need help. And about 70% of companies fail within 10 years. 20% I believe in the first year, about 50% within 2 years. So the statistics aren't too good. And it's not all sales, but it's a big part of it because, the sales keep the doors open and the lights on. And then the third thing is that it still allows me to engage with individuals and help to bring them along and to another level. And so for me, there was a point where it became more gratifying for me to lift other people up and have them succeed than for me just to knock it out of the park as an individual contributor, because I had already accomplished those things. But then the real gratification came from helping others out.
Yeah, I that's something I know about you because I did refer a client to you, and I know it for a fact that you were very patient too at the same time, really trying to understand how to work with people. And that is actually such a very great quality of yours, to be able to work with people that sometimes could be difficult for others.
Yeah. Well, thank you for recognizing that.
But anyway, well, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you? If somebody is out there looking for something to do, a changing career, what would be the best way to get a hold of you, James?
Yeah, so again, it's James Watson with Sales Catapult is the name of my company. I'm on LinkedIn. That's one definitely good way to get a hold of me. Then my email is JWATSON@SalesXCELERATION.com. And my cell number is 310-488-1864.
Okay, can you repeat the phone number again for our listeners?
Sure, it's 310-488-1864.
All right. Now, one last thing, James, what is the last thing that you can advise people out there that are listening to us right now?
Don't allow other people to define you. It's if your gut instinct tells you to go for something and you're compelled to do it, at least try it out and give it your best shot.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much, James. This is amazing. And I'm so glad that I had you today for the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio. And for you out there, don't hesitate to give James a call, because this could be an opportunity that you can't miss. So this is the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio. I am your host, Marie Antoinette Wade, and we'll see you again next time. Bye, everyone.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network, 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Up Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.
Now you can listen to KCAA Radio anytime on your smartphone device. Call 720-835-3099. 720-835-3099.
We've all heard jokes that begin with a rabbi, a priest, and a minister walk into a bar. Well, a rabbi, a minister, and a deacon actually walk into the KCAA studios every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. to host the radio program Religion on the Line. And that's no joke. Together, they offer a mixture of humor and serious conversation about things that really matter in life and how to make our lives happier and more fulfilling. They compare religious doctrine and learn from each other while bringing a unique perspective of religion to the KCAA audience. Listen every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. for Religion on the Line, the intersection of humanity and divinity, right here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listeners behind.
If you're ready for a Las Vegas vacation, here's an offer you can't refuse. The Vegas Travel Center is offering 3 days and 2 nights in Vegas free. Just call 909-406-7400. The offer includes accommodations with 2 free tickets to great Las Vegas entertainment with free meals. So if you're planning a trip to Vegas, you need to jump on this right now. Just call 909-406-7400. Obviously, an offer like this is not going to last. So call now, 909-406-7400 for your 3-day, 2-night Vegas vacation. That number again, 909-406-7400. Call now.
At the end of a long, stressful day, you need the Magic Hands True Shiatsu Neck and Back Massager by True Medic. At last, you don't need to make an appointment for a professional massage. It's portable and rechargeable. Order the Magic Hands True Shiatsu Neck and Back Massager plus heat, designed to deliver a deeply penetrating shiatsu massage to relieve aches and pains. The adjustable arm sleeves give you complete control of the intensity of your massage. The retail price is $299. QVC sells it for $199, but in this special radio offer, it is yours for just $79. Plus, we will throw in free shipping. Enjoy Magic Hands in the comfort of your own home with a recertified demo model, the True Medic Massager. Just $79 with a full 1-year manufacturer's warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee. True Medic, a brand favored by Oprah and popular with celebrities. Call now or go online for the special radio offer of just $79. Visit www.ordermagichaNds.com. That's ordermagichaNds.com or call 877-469-1669.
You may think every weather app is the same until you see WeatherBug over-deliver on so many layers. With more free map layers than any other weather app, WeatherBug warns you the moment lightning strikes near you, prepares you for your commute with road conditions, routes, and even cameras. With everything from pollen and air quality to severe storm risks, radar, and satellite coverage, WeatherBug prepares you for the unpredictable. Download the WeatherBug app, trusted by over 10 million users, today for free.
As a small business owner or decision maker looking to start a new business, are you frustrated with having to handle all the administrative business for your company? A constant turnover of bookkeepers and staff to keep the business running and out of trouble while you are trying to grow your company? You can't do all this paperwork and expand your business too. Executive Services can provide your company with Chief Financial Officer services, including tax return preparation and advice, bookkeeping, financial statement preparation and analysis services, loan package preparation, payroll, marketing services, notary services, new business formations, business liability insurance services, and an on-call CFO to help you with any business questions or issues you run into. Call Executive Services at 800-707-1477 now to get your company organized and have a peace of mind. For only a couple of $100 a week, you can have an experienced CFO on call to handle all of your company's administrative issues and problems. Call 800-707-1477 or visit the Executive Services website, www.xscbs.com, for more information.
NBC News Radio, I'm Chris Coraggio. Another shipment of baby formula is set to arrive in the U.S. Wednesday. NBC News reports FedEx Express has locked down a government contract to bring the shipment from Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany to Dulles International Airport near Washington, D.C. It's not yet clear how much infant formula will be brought over on this flight. It comes after a first shipment of about 78,000 pounds of baby formula arrived in the U.S. Sunday. A top economist says Americans shouldn't worry about a recession, at least not yet.
The market is sending a signal, and it's one that we should be somewhat concerned about and pay attention to. Just no time to panic.
Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, former Obama administration economic advisor Jason Furman explained he doesn't expect a recession in the next 6 to 12 months. He pointed to strong consumer spending, low employment, and job growth as indicators of a healthy economy. However, Furman said further down the road, when the Federal Reserve's policy has more of an effect, the outlook becomes less clear. He also suggested President Biden lower tariffs on China put in place by his Republican predecessors. Former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates says Finland and Sweden applying to join NATO will dramatically change the geopolitics in Europe, especially with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Now that you have the Swedes and the Finns as part of that, he's really put Russia in a much worse strategic position than it had before the invasion.
Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation, Gates explained that this move puts pressure on Putin, not just in Ukraine, but on one of his own borders. He also noted that Putin has led Sweden to abandon 200 years of neutrality in its bid to join the military alliance. A likely case of monkeypox is being identified in Florida. The Department of Health in Broward County says the presumptive case involves international travel. NBC6 reports the state is working to identify potential exposures as the patient is in isolation. The World Health Organization has confirmed over 90 cases worldwide, including 5 in the U.S. as of Saturday. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Apply. The information economy has arrived. The world is teeming with innovation as new business models reinvent every industry. Inside Analysis is your source of information and insight about how to make the most of this exciting new era. Learn more at InsideAnalysis.com.
InsideAnalysis.com.
And now, here's your host, Eric Kavanaugh.
All right, folks, welcome to the future indeed. It's time for another episode of the only coast-to-coast radio show that's all about the information economy. It's called Inside Analysis. Yours truly, Eric Kavanaugh, is here. And folks, we're so excited to talk about a pretty hot topic out there in the world of business. That is the cloud database. Cloud database migration in particular. We have lots of businesses that are looking at the cloud, recognizing it is the center of gravity in this new world of ours. And guess what? It's a very powerful mechanism these days, cloud computing, and can be leveraged in all kinds of different ways. And I can tell you the cloud database space is just white hot these days. And there's just no doubt the cloud is the future. It is the new center of gravity, as we say. But that doesn't mean all the data in the world is still in the cloud. And guess what? It'll never all be in the cloud. There's going to be quite a bit of data on-prem, on premises, as we call it, for various reasons: security, personally identifiable information, strategically valuable information for corporations, maybe part of their research and development. A lot of that is going to stay on-prem. And there are regulations that say certain data cannot go into the cloud. Now, I will say that there are lots of innovations in the cloud to enable cordoning off data, to enable regionally located data, to basically adhere to things like the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, out of the EU, which is sort of de facto regulation here in the United States. And what I mean by that is many corporations are just treating GDPR as if it applies to the US market as well as the European market. So it's something that we have to be cognizant of. Of course, the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, also puts a heavy emphasis on responsibility in use of data, in storage of data, in leveraging data. And this is all good stuff. Now, if you're an ethical organization, you are already doing this kind of thing. So it's not going to be that hard, but it is something to keep in mind. But nonetheless, I promise you, cloud is the new center of gravity. We've got a couple guests today who are going to walk us through what they're working on, including Anita Kibunguchi-Grant from Google is on the line. And we'll hear from Andrew Oliver later in the show as well from MariaDB. And on the phone, Anita, thanks so much for dialing into the show today. Tell us a bit about yourself and what Google is doing in the world of cloud databases.
Amazing. Eric, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on the show. It is such a pleasure to be talking to the audience here today. As Eric mentioned, my name is Anita Kibunguchi-Grant, and I lead the product marketing team here at Google, specifically focused on cloud databases. And I've been here at Google for the past 4 years. Previously, I was working on data analytics solutions, and I moved to the database solutions about a year and a half ago. So really excited to talk to everyone about how, we're seeing increase of databases moving into the cloud. And it's for the reasons that, most of you are very familiar with or you've heard of. When you think about pace of innovation, the agility the cloud provides, how you can think about managing your costs, how for some organizations, there's the opportunity to start to build new applications on the cloud. These are the things that we're seeing and we're hearing from many of our customers today.
Yeah, I'm quite sure. And I guess there was a pretty big announcement at the Google I/O Developers Conference just recently. Can you tell us what happened there and what's the implication of that?
Absolutely. Yes. So at Google I/O just this past week, we announced a new product into market called AlloyDB for PostgreSQL. If you're very familiar with PostgreSQL, this is a open source database engine. And so with AlloyDB, what we did at Google is, we call it the goodness of what, Google provides when you think about, disaggregation of compute and storage, bringing in that architecture and what we're good at Google, but then also bringing in the goodness of open source. So if you're a customer and you're thinking about, leveraging a solution that is powerful, a solution that is familiar with your ongoing tools like PostgreSQL, then AlloyDB for PostgreSQL is that option for you. And so with AlloyDB for PostgreSQL, what's also unique is that we're thinking about folks who are looking to migrate from their legacy databases, and this provides a unique option for those mission critical applications.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm looking at the announcement right now, and folks, guess what? There are so many PostgreSQL databases out there, and I think a lot of the companies using them have realized that they are, to a certain extent, hamstrung, and they have to find some way out of it. Now, I've been around this business a long time, over 20 years, I'm afraid to say, so I know that just the thought of a database migration is enough to scare the daylights out of any DBA or even any senior executive. But it used to be a heck of a lot harder than it is today. Now we have lots of technologies for being able to pull data from systems, to replicate databases. I was on a phone call this morning with a new company called Polyscale.ai. We're going to do a webinar with them next month, and they are attacking this. And in fact, they talked about Postgres databases as one of the key challenges. It's a real market opportunity for them. And it sounds like Google, once again, is focused on trying to solve for these kinds of problems. So can you tell us about AlloyDB? Is it just a software offering? Is it software and services? Tell us the nature of AlloyDB and how it works.
Yeah, so when you think about the core of Postgres system, it's a relational database, right? And I think what's unique about it is the idea of compatibility with Postgres. And so what you're seeing is that we're meeting customers where they are in their journey, right? For a customer or an enterprise who's made a decision on, I want to move Postgres, but I also want to make sure that I'm leveraging, the high availability, reliability, right? For those mission critical applications, that's what AlloyDB offers, right? It's almost like we're meeting customers where they are with their needs, right? We're taking an open source engine, and we're also adding in and making it even better so then you can get the goodness, right, for a lot of your applications.
Yeah, because we were, again, talking about this just this morning. It's so funny. I keep having these instances where I have a conversation in the morning, and then on the radio, we have a very similar conversation with different people, which tells you this is something going on. This is a market trend, right? And with database, let's face it, the key driver is always performance. How can I get the optimal performance with my database? So I'm going to move at the speed of business. I'm not going to be hamstrung. I'm not going to be facing performance issues and have people waiting on the phone. Oh, our systems are slow today. You always want the performance. And so the key becomes, how do you architect that performance? Can you talk about the sort of inner workings of AlloyDB? What went into the thought process, and how are you able to kind of bridge this gap and, as you say, meet customers where they are?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things I just wanted to call out, in our performance tests, when we looked at AlloyDB compared to just regular open source Postgres, we found out that AlloyDB was 4 times faster than standard Postgres. And this is for transactional workloads, right? And when you're thinking about your analytical queries, we were actually up to 100 times faster for analytical queries compared to standard Postgres. And so when I talked a little bit about yeah, I know, right? When we talk about, when we bring in the best of cloud, right, one of the most important things to call out is this idea of disaggregation of compute and storage, right?
Right.
Which means that if I wanted to add, sorry, go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead. Yeah, keep going. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Disaggregation of compute and storage, which means if I want to scale my application, right, I can scale compute and storage independently of each other, right? It allows you to have massive scale-out architectures, and you start to get those performance speeds that are just at the levels that I just talked about, right? A couple other things that make AlloyDB unique is that we enable things like intelligent caching. As you know, when you have a caching system, it means it's a little bit easier to actually to get your data much faster. We've also added in some ML-enabled adaptive systems. So if you're thinking about trying to free your developers from the daily mundane tasks of vacuuming, performance tuning, regular database management tasks, we've also abstracted those, and we're doing those automatically, right? So if you're a customer, you're getting the best of Postgres, which is open source, right, in a language that you're familiar with, but then we're also giving you the best of what cloud offers, right? When you think about fully managed architectures, right, with also a little bit of machine learning enabled systems too.
That's a huge deal. And just to explain to our audience here what Anita is talking about, we've heard all sorts of great things about machine learning. Machine learning is fantastic at being able to do tedious tasks at tremendous scale very easily. So very simple things like trying to understand what are the peak times for our typical workloads? When do people typically come in and we need some additional throughput? Or, what time do certain sorts of transactions take place? Or it could be any number of things depending upon your business. But the point is, machine learning is great at being able to identify patterns in data, whether it be patterns in consumer behavior or patterns in system behavior, for example, if you're trying to tune something, and to be able to leverage machine learning on your data in the cloud, that's a really seriously big deal. Because if you try to do that on your own, which you absolutely can, a lot of the algorithms are free. You just have to kind of set up the workflows and get them and then patch that into your operational systems. But if Google is finding a way to abstract that complexity away from your environment, that just greases the tracks to let your organization leverage machine learning, which I promise you is a very seriously big deal. Anita, did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, I think you captured the essence of it correctly, right? And I think for what's unique at AlloyDB is a couple ways to look at machine learning is, the machine learning is running in the back end. So you as a customer don't even get to see it, right? It's almost like the thing that's just making your systems even better and your databases even better. But on top of that, even with AlloyDB, we're also thinking about how do we integrate better with other AI and machine learning tools at Google, with technology like Vertex AI, which is an AI platform, right, for running machine learning models. So we're also thinking about, now let's imagine you want to do those insights, right, and get additional analytics on your data. How do we think about you connecting to systems like that, right? So it's a little bit of both where there's the back end when you don't get to see that, right? And then there's also the front end where you get to interact with it too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I was talking to an expert in our field just last week. I did an interview out at the ThoughtSpot conference in Las Vegas, and he talked about low code to pro code. And you kind of just hinted at that very reality, which is low code or no code, quite frankly, is what you're talking about, meaning the solution runs under the covers. The user doesn't even know what's happening. They just benefit from optimization. And folks, this used to take a lot of individuals, database administrators, for example, sysadmin, system administrators, manually checking things, optimizing indices, for example, optimizing various knobs in their environment. And what Anita is pointing out is that in the background, AlloyDB already does that for you automatically, which is fantastic. That's the no code. But the no code is what you just mentioned, where they're working with other AI engines, for example, to enable even greater functionality that you as an end user can control in terms of building the models, executing the models, building challenger models, all that kind of fun stuff. So you get the best of both worlds is kind of the point, right, Anita?
Exactly. That is the point right there, Eric.
No, this is amazing stuff. And folks, it's so exciting because it's almost like moving from the era when everyone used to work on their own cars. I remember that in the 1970s, every other person was an auto mechanic, but the engines were much simpler back then. It's much harder to be an auto mechanic these days, at least if you're not associated with a major brand, for lots of reasons, one of which is the engines are very specific. There are even particular tools you have to use to be able to get into certain parts, to open this, to open that. That's under the covers. But now the engines run so much better. There's one of my favorite comedians jokes about this. He's like, you young kids in the audience, you may think your car is old, but it was still built in the 2000s. His point is that it used to be a thing. Like your car starting used to be a real issue. That's not an issue anymore. A lot of the old issues that we ran into with databases, like performance, like redundancy, for example, just general capabilities, that used to be a problem, not really a problem in the future of these cloud-based databases, right? And a lot of those problems have been solved for you, and now you just build on top of this much more stable foundation. What do you think, Anita?
It's such a good point, Eric, to bring up. I think that, part of our job when we're thinking about putting systems out for customers is how do we continue to make it easier and easier for customers to get value from, building applications, right? Get value from focusing on the things that will help them innovate, right, and move faster. We're in a world where things are changing so much. We're in a world where, digital experiences are paramount, right, for companies out there. And so, yes, the more we can try to make it easier for our customers to be able to consume our solutions, get value from it, and really focus on the things they should be focusing on for their businesses, the better we are, right? And so in addition to, when we think about products like AlloyDB, we're also thinking about this full platform, right? When we're thinking about products that we have, we have cloud-native products. These are products that are born in the cloud. When we think about, for us, products like Bigtable and Spanner, right, and even BigQuery, these are products that, offering you high availability, high reliability, right? We're looking at high performance as well, because we, again, want to make sure that customers are focused on the things that make their businesses better, right? But in addition, we have to realize that customers have also made a lot of investments in, to your point, like, tools like, PostgreSQL or MySQL, right? How do we continue meeting customers where they are with the tools that they're familiar with, right? So for us, a product like Cloud SQL does just that, right? Easy, again, lift and shift of your MySQL, SQL Server, or Postgres databases into the cloud, right? Again, when we started this conversation, it was all about how do we think about migrations and how do we simplify those. And so we're constantly thinking about how do we make this journey easy for our customers over and over again,
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And we want it to be seamless, right? You don't want to have to know how to construct database tables and do joins and do all these other things. The business doesn't need to worry about that. That has been traditionally the role of the IT department, the role of DBAs, and like I said, sysadmins and so forth. And those folks are still have plenty of stuff to tackle. Right. The key is that we're solving a lot of the lower level challenges such that we can focus on the higher level business challenges like separating yourself from the pack. And what's so exciting here is that by solving those lower level problems, we really do open the door. I mean, I'll give you just one small example here. I was showing my better half this morning. She was I was getting her into Google Docs and pointing out simple things like you don't have to hit the save button anymore, Command S. Right, we had to learn to do Command S all the time to save your work. That's all done automatically for you. It's automatically saved, and now you can do collaboration in Google Docs. I'm a huge Google Docs fan. I have to say, I'm in there all the time. I think it's the best of the best in terms of what it offers in that workspace, which is everyday functionality. That's what we want. And now with AlloyDB from Google, they're really taking the next step, enabling Postgres SQL in the cloud. Don't touch that stuff. The dial, folks. Will be right back. You're listening to Inside Analysis.
What if you could own a piece of the future? What if you could build your next castle, not on sand, but on the bedrock of a modern blockchain ecosystem? The first internet gold rush made millionaires. The second wave is minting billionaires. But the third wave is just gathering now, and anyone can get in on the action. Hop online to crowdpointtech.com to learn how you can secure a foothold in the blockchain revolution. Whatever your passion, wherever you want to go in life, there's an opportunity awaiting you right now. Go to crowdpointtech.com to learn how the blockchain will fuel the next generation of innovation in this globally connected world. That's crowdpointtech.com, your trusted agent in an untrusted world. What's the longest running radio show in the world focused on data? DM Radio. Want to be a guest sometime? Send an email to info@dmradio.biz. That's info@dmradio.biz. What if you could own a piece of the future? What if you could build your next castle, not on sand, but on the bedrock of a modern blockchain ecosystem? The first internet gold rush made millionaires. The second wave is minting billionaires. But the third wave is just gathering now, and anyone can get in on the action. Hop online to crowdpointtech.com to learn how you can secure a foothold in the blockchain revolution. Whatever your passion, wherever you want to go in life, there's an opportunity awaiting you right now. Go to crowdpointtech.com to learn how the blockchain will fuel the next generation of innovation in this globally connected world. That's crowdpointtech.com, your trusted agent in an untrusted world. What's the longest running radio show in the world focused on data? DM Radio. Want to be a guest sometime? Send an email to info@dmradio.biz. That's info@dmradio.biz.
Do you have an old car sitting around your house? Maybe you're even paying insurance on it. Well, if you don't need that car anymore, donate it, running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation. They will even come and pick it up for free and give you a receipt for a tax donation. Breast cancer screening could save the life of someone you love. And right now, they need your help. They want to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And that's what your old car helps to pay for. So get your phone out and call right now to donate your car to the United Breast Cancer Foundation. Remember, they will come pick it up for free and give you a tax donation receipt. Call right now at 800-245-1375. 800-245-1375. That's 800-245-1375. 800-245-1375. Do you have an old car sitting around your house? Maybe you're even paying insurance on it. Well, if you don't need that car anymore, donate it, running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation. They will even come and pick it up for free and give you a receipt for a tax donation. Breast cancer screening could save the life of someone you love. And right now, they need your help. They want to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And that's what your old car helps to pay for. So get your phone out and call right now to donate your car to the United Breast Cancer Foundation. Remember, they will come pick it up for free and give you a tax donation receipt. Call right now at 800-245-1375. 800-245-1375. That's 800-245-1375. 800-245-1375.
Welcome back to Inside Analysis. Here's your host, Eric Kavanaugh.
Take us to the future. All right, folks, take us to the future indeed, where all of your database problems will be solved easily and quickly and efficiently. Your host here, Eric Kavanaugh, talking to a couple of guests today on the show. And next up is Andrew Oliver from a company called MariaDB. And for those who don't know, MariaDB was a fork from MySQL a number of years ago. As I recall, Montevidenius, wasn't he the creator of MySQL? And then when Oracle bought Sun, which owned MySQL at the time, I believe, that very day he forked the project, the open source project, to create MariaDB. And that's quite a few years ago. So a lot has changed since then. And next up, Andrew Oliver can tell us a bit about that. So Andrew, tell us what's going on in the world of SkySQL for MariaDB and your other offerings in that space.
Yeah, so a lot has happened since then. We do maintain the compatibility with the MySQL and MariaDB ecosystem. We feel like MariaDB is a far more advanced database now than it was then, and has a lot of features you won't find in MySQL. With that said, with our SkySQL offering, our database as a service in the cloud, it supports both AWS and GCP. And it works with our on-premise offering as well, so you can do the data transfer between them. But with our SkySQL offering, we offer the traditional MariaDB open source database with enterprise features. We have MariaDB Column Store if you're doing larger scale analytics. And we also have our distributed SQL offering, MariaDB Expand. And Expand is able to scale out horizontally. It does this in a different way than a Aurora or AlloyDB, where they push it into the storage layer. Instead, it uses a algorithm in order to make sure that the data stays consistent. So it's able to offer superior consistency, large scale out, and it's a SQL database, but with our offering, we do support JSON data types and other NoSQL-like features. So it's really intended to give developers an easy way to start with their existing relational data or develop new applications. And scale out as they need. So SkySQL is a really good place to do that on multiple clouds, especially if you've also got on-premise databases that you need to coordinate with or replicate into the public cloud. And we feel that SkySQL is a really good offering in order to support development teams who are trying to migrate to the cloud. And we have existing customers that have migrated from Oracle and save a bunch of money. We've got everything from social media to financial companies who are running on SkySQL and MariaDB technologies.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. And, migrating to the cloud, I was joking earlier that it's something that always scares the pants off of people because you wonder what's going to get left behind, how painful is it going to be. You talked about a couple different features, one like validation, basically. Walk us through the process of some brick and mortar company biting the bullet and realizing they have to migrate to the cloud. What are some best practices for doing the blocking and tackling necessary to make sure you get it done right?
So we do a lot for you. So first off, MariaDB has some Oracle compatibilities and features in it that make it easier. It is a SQL database, so migrating from a SQL database to a SQL database is not usually the same order of magnitude of going to a different type of database. But we have, say, Financial Network, F&I. They moved from, they were a long-term Oracle customer on GCP, and they moved to SkySQL on GCP, and they've saved like 80% on their database costs. But one of the key pieces of this was that they took advantage of our Oracle compatibility features. And they didn't do it initially to save money. They did it because they were running into barriers and restrictions and the kind of scale that they needed. One of the things that we do that's a little different than some of the hyperscalers is that we also offer SkyDBA service. So you can get both self-service in the cloud, launch a database when you need to launch a database, monitor it, manage it, the same stuff that every database as a service vendor will tell you. But we also give you the ability to work with a virtual member of your team from MariaDB itself. So we have, you can have a fractional or dedicated DBA from MariaDB working with your team in real time, doing things like tuning the database or any of those sorts of regular maintenance type things that people have. And when you think about how many different databases a lot of companies have and how many different platforms and applications and all of that kind of stuff, we're really kind of focused on simplifying it. You need fewer, more capable databases, and you need the kind of personal support necessary to make this work in an era of complex applications, really.
Yeah, and of course, hybrid cloud or multi-cloud, I should say, is going to be the norm going forward. Talk to us about how you can kind of enable an abstraction layer to be able to leverage multi-cloud, which, again, I don't think it's ever going to go away. I think we're looking at a multi-cloud, hybrid cloud future where some is on-prem, the rest is in the cloud. How do you play well with others, basically, to kind of ensure consistency across all those environments?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Whether you look at stats from Gartner, you look at anybody, they'll tell you multi-cloud is many companies' strategy. I don't believe there are non-multi-cloud companies. I think there are only two types of multi-cloud companies. There's the ones that do it on purpose and the ones that do it by accident. So if you're like, oh, we're only going to standardize on one cloud platform, and then you go buy some third-party software. Well, guess what? That third-party software doesn't happen to run on the cloud that you want. Are you going to wait or whatever? So then you've got multi-cloud. If you buy a company, you become multi-cloud. If you, no matter what, you're going to end up a multi-cloud company. A lot of companies do this. Or if you expand globally, whatever's your favorite cloud provider in Western Europe or the US may not be your favorite cloud provider even available in parts of Asia or other parts of the world, and it may not have the best availability or best data centers or pricing or any of that kind of stuff. So everybody's going to be multi-cloud. MariaDB, SkySQL, so it works on both AWS and GCP. Our MariaDB Enterprise works on your cloud. You can self-manage it. You can install it on your own private cloud. And we have people that are even doing DR between MariaDB Enterprise and SkySQL in order to, especially like manufacturing and what have you, so that they can have something on the edge or have something in their data center that meets those requirements, and then also replicate to the cloud. And I think you're spot on with both hybrid and with multi-cloud. There's always going to be regulations and things like that, and there's always going to be places where there's some specific latency or other types of requirements that make it more optimal to run locally in your own data center. And our stuff is really keeps that in mind. Our everything from our management console to our technology is intended to keep that in mind. We don't have some sort of special hardware storage layer where we've shoved some of the database, where we've gutted some of the database and shoved that in the storage layer. This is stuff that runs the way a database is expected to run.
Yeah, right. No, that's a good point. And, I'd like to throw out something too, then we could pick this up in the roundtable next. We'll bring Anita back in to the next segment. But, there's this concept of lift and shift, right? And a lot of people think, okay, we want to leverage the cloud. Let's go ahead and lift this environment and deploy it in the cloud. That's really not the best way to go for lots of different reasons. I think moving to the cloud really begs the question, how can we optimize all of this? How can we come up with a better architecture to enable better customer experience? Anita mentioned being able to leverage machine learning, which is a really big deal. It's important to take this as an opportunity to redesign and redeploy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that there's two things. I think that on one hand, you want to have features in your database so that your existing applications can migrate quickly. But we're not going to stop innovating there. I mean, great, you have this database that's compatible with the database that you're already running, but what else is it doing for you? How is it, if we look at MariaDB Expand, it's read-write scale. This is different from an Aurora and Alloy DB, where you're trying to push the scalability in the storage layer. This is horizontal, add more nodes, you get additional writers, you get additional read nodes all in one. So any node can do anything. So this sort of scale out where you can handle multiple failures across multiple availability zones, I think is absolutely critical. And I think also adding some of the chewy kind of features that database developers are looking for is incredibly important. So we've added, say, columnar indexes to our distributed SQL offering, allowing them to be able to run ad hoc queries. They don't have to create a perfect index. They can use the columnar index with the row-based index, do ad hoc queries, operational analytics, without creating another copy of the data on yet another database. I think people don't really want to run 15 different databases. They want to run fewer databases. So saying, oh, we have yet another database, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to make our databases more capable so you can run any workload on them on any cloud at any scale. That's our mission as a company and what kind of goes into our software and platform.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You're enabling rapid analytics without having to deploy a separate database. I mean, I'm in the analytics business and have been for 20 years, so I appreciate the power of an analytic engine. There are companies that have built their entire product suite all around the goal of enabling rapid analytics. And I think what's clever about your approach is that you're just layering something into the architecture that you're pretty sure people are going to want, which is ad hoc queries for operational analytics. Again, the less complexity, the more value to the company, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also the more valid the data, right? What's your transactional boundary? It's most true on the one database. When you start copying data across, what's the validity of the data, and how do you put what is the time index? How do you put Humpty Dumpty back together? And you're best off with your data lineage if you don't have to move stuff around. And our tools are also looking at how you can optimize. We have machine learning built into SkySQL to tell you, here's what your workload is like, and here's how you do it better. Here's something you might want to consider. Here's what we're seeing. Here's how things are going, so that you can really kind of optimize the way that your databases are running.
Yeah, and you brought up a really good point here, which is where machine learning and AI will manifest. Where will we see the fruits of that AI labor, if you will? And I think the key is suggestions, right? We're going to get a lot more of that from these various engines where you'll just get a suggestion. Hey, do you want to try this? Do you want to try that? And that way the user can just say yes or no. And the algorithms can learn from your behavior. But that's very useful because a lot of times, as much as you'll think through a particular architecture, a workflow, there are going to be things that you miss. And there are going to be dependencies maybe that you underestimated. There will be hurdles you didn't expect. And so to get these suggestions, I think that's how we're going to actually witness AI and machine learning transforming business. What do you think?
I think that's absolutely true. I think from a database perspective, we hope to continue to make it to where you have less to do, where we've taken care of more and more of it for you. And I mean, that's why MariaDB, for instance, doesn't need a vacuum. We've automated some of those sort of processes and built it into the architecture. So I think that, yes, the suggestions and those sort of AI-based prompts are absolutely critical today. And I think in the future, we'll see the best AI will be the AI I don't even know is there, that I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We got 1 minute left before break. What's one critical success factor or one critical failure point that you want people to know about?
So I think that looking at your database architecture, you should look for your cloud migration. You should look for compatibility features, but you should also look at what's the future. So what does this do for me going forward? Is this going to give me what I need to build my services for my everyday applications going forward? Do we have a future in this, or is it just a compatibility layer? What features that developers need are in this new cloud platform? I think that's absolutely critical, and being able to simplify your architecture. We went really complicated in the 2010s, and now I think everybody's like, I don't need more databases. I need fewer that just handle failures and scale.
That's funny. I think that's exactly right. Simplicity is a beautiful thing out there, and you're right that we got pretty complex there for a while. A lot of value came out of that, but I think simplicity is going to rule the day. And developer first is something to really keep in mind. Don't touch that dial, folks. We'll be right back. You are listening to Inside Analysis.
NS1 has a singular focus to deliver the best application traffic, intelligence, and automation technologies in the market so companies can build the better future. The most innovative companies in the world rely on NS1's flexible, automated, and scalable solutions to build an intelligent, automated, and resilient foundation to manage delivery and optimize application traffic. NS1 puts innovation within reach by eliminating boundaries between applications, users, infrastructure, and data, and is the only vendor offering a comprehensive portfolio of solutions that extends across an entire network footprint with technologies for cloud-native network services, edge-to-cloud networking, and application traffic optimization. What's the longest-running radio show in the world focused on data? DM Radio. Since 2008, we've interviewed hundreds of the brightest minds in the business world. Want to be a guest sometime? Send an email to info@dmradio.biz. NS1 has a singular focus to deliver the best application traffic, intelligence, and automation technologies in the market so companies can build the better future. The most innovative companies in the world rely on NS1's flexible, automated, and scalable solutions to build an intelligent, automated, and resilient foundation to manage delivery and optimize application traffic. NS1 puts innovation within reach by eliminating boundaries between applications, users, infrastructure, and data, and is the only vendor offering a comprehensive portfolio of solutions that extends across an entire network footprint with technologies for cloud-native network services, edge-to-cloud networking, and application traffic optimization. What's the longest-running radio show in the world focused on data? DM Radio. Since 2008, we've interviewed hundreds of the brightest minds in the business world. Want to be a guest sometime? Send an email to info@dmradio.biz.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-495-3652. 800-495-3652. 800-495-3652. That's 800-495-3652.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-495-3652. 800-495-3652. 800-495-3652. That's 800-495-3652.
Welcome back to Inside Analysis. Here's your host, Eric Kavanaugh.
All right, folks, welcome back to Inside Analysis, talking all about cloud migration today and cloud databases. We've been talking to Anita Kibinguchi-Grant of Google and also Andrew Oliver of MariaDB. And Anita, I'll bring you back into the conversation here. We've talked about lift and shift versus really redesigning and redeploying, which I think is the optimal way to go. There is a lot of trepidation in the business, I'm sure, especially if you're talking about transactional systems, the systems that run your business. You're always going to have operations. People get a bit nervous if you start talking about migrating their data to some other environment. But the cloud is where it's at, folks. I mean, the cloud is the new center of gravity, as we mentioned, and you got to start somewhere. So, Anita, if you would share with us some best practices on how to get that done, how to keep an open mind about it, and how, as you suggest, Google and your team can meet customers where they are. Talk about what that means, Anita. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Eric. I think it's important to, first of all, to really, what's the right word here? To meet customers where they are, right? And I think what you mentioned, Eric, was such a good point where databases run, right? They're the back-end systems that run your most mission-critical applications. I mean, there's no application out there that's running that does not have a back-end database, right? Which means when you think about migrations or even moving anything that's related to databases, there's a lot of fear. So, I think one of the things that I advise, if you were thinking about it, if you're considering cloud, I would say put a plan together, right? I think, part of the migration process is really understanding what applications do you have, what are they running, right? When you're thinking about the cloud, what is the right platform for you to be thinking about? What are those applications that you're going to move as is because of different reasons? There's certain applications that you might think about modernizing, which is, maybe moving them from an open source engine to something that's much more cloud native. How do you think about even just building net new applications in the cloud? Because, of course, just because you have applications running let's say on your on-prem environment, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be building any new applications in the future. So what's that journey look like, right? So I think starts with planning, right? Plan it out. Don't be afraid. And then also just realize that just like anything else, start small. And then over time, increase those, the movement of those applications into the cloud, tap into resources that exist for you. If you're looking at partners, if you're looking at any existing tools that are out there, we integrate with a lot of partner tools like Stream. If you're looking at, cloud native tools for us, like a database migration service, but what does that look like for you? So again, planning, don't be afraid, and then just start, right?
I love it. Planning, don't be afraid, and you got to start somewhere. And to your point, think through what you're trying to accomplish. What is core to your business? I think one positive aspect of this whole COVID pandemic thing that we've gone through now is that it really forced us all to reflect, of course, on our personal lives, but also on business and how we get business done. And it revealed a lot of realities about life, one of which is that a lot of work can be done remotely. And Andrew, you've been working remotely for a while, so you know all about that. I think Anita is right. The key is to start planning and start informing yourself about what's possible, and really allow yourself to think through what is the ideal end state. What do I want to improve? Is it the customer experience? Is it partner experience? Is it efficiency in terms of close rates, or whatever the case may be? What are the metrics that drive your business, and how can a new database architecture enable that? Does that sound about right, Andrew?
I think that's right. I think also you want to give yourself some headroom. You want to give yourself the ability to elastically scale, because a lot of times we saw this in 2020, right? Suddenly a lot of businesses had like no business in March, and other businesses had more than they'd ever had in March, and then something changed and it fluctuated. We've got a lot more spiky kind of behavior. So you need architectures that can handle massive upticks in utilization and be able to scale back to save costs. You don't want to write a big fat check to your cloud vendor on your worst day. I think you also want to maintain your independence, because if you look at the companies that said, hey, we're going to standardize on Oracle a decade ago or whatever, then they got hit with these new requirements as far as 24/7 uptime, absolute availability, lower latency, customer engagement, and customer engagement with your system of record. And they're having to re-architect things. They have technology for MariaDB to make it more compatible, but they had to deal with that. So you want to try and keep that same level of independence, whether it be a cloud vendor or sticking to query languages like SQL that have some standards and what have you. I disagree that there's a conflict between open source and cloud native. I think cloud native is largely developed in open source, and that open source is a key way that the cloud native technologies are being developed. I think that you can use all or largely open source developed technology in a cloud native format without having to move to a proprietary vendor kind of, lock-in.
Yeah, right. And Anita, I'll throw this one over to you for some closing comments. We always talk about scale up, or scaling out, I should say, in the cloud when demand peaks. But scaling back down is half the challenge, right? If you can't scale back down, then that's one of the real concerns with on-prem environments. If you're relying entirely on your on-prem environment, you have to design for the highest peak level of activity. You can't scale back down very easily, and that becomes pretty expensive over time in terms of total cost of ownership. So real quick, Anita, your thoughts on the ability to scale down as well as scale out. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that flexibility, and then this is probably one of those benefits of cloud, right? I think you always heard it, right, from when folks were making the case of why should you move to the cloud, right? But I think the ability of going in and provisioning additional resources when you need them, and the ability to be able to say, okay, that peak that I had for Black Friday, guess what? It's gone, right? That peak was for a day or maybe a week, right? And now I want to be able to go back and say that, okay, now I'm back to my regular state of business, right? And I think the ability to be able to do that is fundamental. But even more so, I think for a lot of customers is understanding what does that peak look like for you from a cost perspective. I think Andrew touched a little bit on this one, right? Mm-hmm. The idea of like, if I can plan for it, if I can plan and know what traffic I might see for Black Friday and be able to plan for it, right, then at least I know how much it's going to cost me, right, and then be able to ramp back down when I need to, right, just allows you to be better prepared. Honestly, I think for a lot of businesses, it's all about preparation, right, and just not being able to be caught off guard, right? Mm-hmm. I think once you're able to plan, even better for you.
Yeah, there's a great expression that says luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And I think that really speaks to what Anita just mentioned there. Andrew, I'll throw it over to you. This is the importance of planning, right? Wasn't it Eisenhower who said, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable? Point being, you learn things when you plan and you spend more time planning, you're going to do a better job of understanding the possibilities. And then even if your plan goes out the window, you're much better suited to re-architect that plan and redesign and redeploy. What do you think, Andrew?
I think that's true. I think when it comes to capacity planning, the one thing that you can be guaranteed on is that you're absolutely wrong. I think to paraphrase Eisenhower differently, because even if you plan for that blue line and the average of between your peak and your lowest utilization, you're still wrong almost all of the time. So being able to have an architecture that scales back and scales out when you need is absolutely critical. Anything that you see from Gartner or anybody else will talk about how much of the cloud spend is wasted. And I think that part of that is a lot of times we're using fairly static architectures that don't have that capability, which is a key thing that we've kind of architected into expand to be able to give you the ability to scale out and scale back. And great plan. Let's plan. Let's have multiple redundancies and availability zones, replicate in between regions, and do all the right things. But we know we're going to be wrong, so let's have an architecture that can adapt to how wrong we usually are.
That's pretty funny. It's actually a very practical worldview. It might sound pessimistic, but it's really more pragmatic, is that on capacity planning, you're always going to be wrong. I mean, we see this in the supply chains with material goods. It's very difficult these days. It's a very turbulent world in terms of supply chains for lots of different reasons. COVID, war, all sorts of things are happening. But it applies to the data world as well. It's a little bit easier to handle in the data world, but you do have to think these things through. And that's why we had these guests online today. So big thanks to our guests today. We've been talking, of course, to Andrew Oliver and Anita Kiviguchi Grant. Thank you for your time. We'll talk to you next time. You've been listening to Inside.
Talk 102.3 FM Riverside. KCAA NBCRadioNews.com.
This segment brought to you by Matt Flores of Secure Choice Lending in Riverside. We thank Matt for being a man of his word.
Hi, I'm Matt. No one is more curious than now about the real estate market and what lies ahead. But one thing is for sure, we can help you with your next move. We're licensed in 14 states, and we take pride in our trustworthy service that takes the stress out of your next refinance or next real estate transaction.
You can find Matt Flores of Secure Choice Lending at www.securechoicelending.com or on Instagram at MatthewF444. No matter what your age is, it's never too late or early to find a good lender. You can call 951-742-1382. That's 951-742-1382. Or Google Matt Flores Loans.
Hey, mortgages are kind of boring, but we keep it fun. NMLS 1161689.
It's time to make the Tri-City Center in Redlands a regular part of your weekly shopping experience. Tri-City is home to a wide assortment of quality businesses, including the all-new Ocean Aquatics. Check out their variety of exotic tropical fish, along with fish food, accessories, and tanks of all shapes and sizes. The Tri-City Center is located just off of Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. Visit the Tri-City Center today and find out why it's called the Mall with a Heart.
Hello, folks. Matt Rodriguez here, your best choice for LA County Sheriff. Personally, I can't recall a time when LA County was in such dire straits as it is today, with skyrocketing crime rates, low deputy morale, and a complete disconnect between Sheriff Villanueva and the community he serves. To say we deserve better is a huge understatement. If I was to summarize Alex Villanueva's term as sheriff in one word, that word would be disrespectful. That is why I'm running for LA County Sheriff, to reinstate a sense of respect back into the job. Respect for the people, law enforcement, and the rule of law. Clearly, I cannot accomplish this quest without your help. So please join me on this journey to reinstate respect back into the LA County Sheriff's Office. Go to rodriguezforsheriff.com, donate, and volunteer. It would be my honor to have you on the team. Thank you, God bless, and stay safe.
If you're ready for a Las Vegas vacation, here's an offer you can't refuse. The Vegas Travel Center is offering 3 days and 2 nights in Vegas free. Just call 909-406-7400. The offer includes accommodations with 2 free tickets to great Las Vegas entertainment with free meals. So if you're planning a trip to Vegas, you need to jump on this right now. Just call 909-406-7400. Obviously, an offer like this is not going to last. So call now, 909-406-7400 for your 3-day, 2-night Vegas vacation. That number again, 909-406-7400. Call now.
Hi, it's Dr. Jamie Turndorf, host of Ask Dr. Love, the #1 relationship advice show in America, brought to you by Membrace Life, the #1 vaginal moisture supplement. If you're scared to stick your toe back in the dating pool, or your relationships are rocky, or your sex life is sagging, have no fear. Dr. Love is here. I'm a #1 best-selling author with 40 years in the love trenches. Tune in to Ask Dr. Love Tuesdays, 7 to 8 a.m., and tune up all your relationships.
When Donald Trump declared he would fix the U.S. Postal Service, he was using the word fix the same way veterinarians do when you bring in your dog. Trump wasted an inordinate amount of his presidential power and prestige in a failed attempt to neuter an agency that literally delivers for the people. Extraordinary postal workers move our letters and packages by truck, car, airplane, boat, motorbike, mule, and of course by foot, to any address across town or across the country. Both essential and effective, it's the most popular federal agency, with 91% of the public approving its work. Thus, an uproar of protest killed Trump's attempt to gut it. When it comes to bad public policy, however, failure is just a way of saying, let's try the back door. Trump was defeated, but he left behind an undistinguished postmaster general named Louis DeJoy, who had only 2 qualifications for the job. He was a Trump mega-donor, and he was a peer of corporate powers that have long wanted to privatize the Postal Service. In March, before the new Biden presidency had taken charge of the postal system, DeJoy popped through the back door with his own 10-year plan to fix the agency. Rhetorically, his plan promised to, quote, achieve service excellence by making mail delivery more consistent and reliable. How? By consistently cutting service and reliably gouging customers. Specifically, DeJoy proposed to close numerous mail processing facilities, eliminate jobs, reduce post office hours of service, and cut the standard of delivering our first-class mail from 3 days to 5. Oh, also raise stamp prices. This is Jim Hightower saying delivering lousy service at higher prices is intended to destroy public support, opening up the service to takeover by private profiteers. And who gets joy from that?
KCAA Radio has openings for 1-hour talk shows. If you want to host a radio show, now is the time. Make KCAA your flagship station. Our rates are affordable and our services are second to none. We broadcast on 3 terrestrial frequencies to a population of 5 million people. Plus, we stream and podcast on all major online audio and video systems. If you've been thinking about broadcasting a weekly radio program on real radio plus the internet, contact our CEO at 281-5900. 281-599-9800. 281-599-9800. You can Skype your show from your home to our Redlands, California studio, where our live producers and engineers are ready to work with you personally. A radio program on KCAA is the perfect work from home avocation in these stressful times. Just type KCAAradio.com into your browser to learn more about hosting a show on the best station in the nation, or call our CEO for details. 281-599-9800.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
NBC News Radio, I'm Chris Coraggio. The first international shipment of baby formula has arrived in the United States and will soon be available to help ease the nationwide shortage.
It would take approximately 2 weeks for the normal commercial process to work. As a result of the United States military's involvement, we're going to get this here in a matter of days.
Agricultural Secretary Tom Vilsack says the first batch from Operation Fly Formula landed in Indiana today aboard an Air Force C-17 cargo plane from Germany. The 78,000 pounds of Nestle infant formula is the equivalent of more than 1.5 million 8-ounce bottles. According to the White House, that's enough formula to fill about 15% of the need nationwide. Another shipment of baby formula is set to arrive in the U.S. Wednesday. A likely case of monkeypox has been found in Florida. Here's Gordon Bird.
Florida Department of Health in Broward County says the presumptive case involves international travel. NBC6 reports the state is working to identify potential exposures as the patient is in isolation. No other monkeypox cases found in Florida so far. The World Health Organization has confirmed over 90 cases worldwide, including 5 in the U.S. as of Saturday. The disease is usually found in Africa, and experts are puzzled by recent outbreaks in the U.S. and Europe. I'm Gordon Bird.
A developer from Dubai is buying the South Florida property where last summer's deadly condo collapse happened for $120 million. 98 people were killed when the tower suddenly collapsed last June. Damac Properties of Dubai was the lone bidder for the Champlain Towers South and Surfside. The sale is expected to be finalized on Monday. More than half of Americans want to keep Title 42 in place. That's according to a new Politico Harvard poll. Data shows 55% want to keep the Trump-era public health policy that blocks migrants from seeking asylum at the border during the pandemic. The Biden administration has plans to lift the restriction on Monday. The data was heavily split along party lines. You're listening to the latest.
We've all heard jokes that begin with a rabbi, a priest, and a minister walk into a bar. Well, a rabbi, a minister, and a deacon actually walk into the KCAA studios every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. to host the radio program Religion on the Line. And that's no joke. Together, they offer a mixture of humor and serious conversation about things that really matter in life and how to make our lives happier and more fulfilling. They compare religious doctrine and learn from each other while bringing a unique perspective of religion to the KCAA audience. Listen every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. for Religion on the Line. The